specifically the ones in New York. I'm sorry?
An electric kit, and I see another you back there.
Yeah, so I had a lot of work, and I decided I needed to clone myself because, I just wasn't getting enough done. So this way we can split the... Do you want to play guitar?
Yeah.
Want to play guitar?
Okay, get out of here.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's useful. It's just useful, But, sometimes it's a pain in the ass.
Oh my God.
So have you found though, when you generate your clone, it's like, regenerating a bootleg over time, it loses a generation essentially?
Definitely. I mean, the authentic me is definitely better. You agree with that? You don't? Okay. All right. I don't know.
He's not much of a talker. He's not Joel 1.0 is not much of a talker.
No, he's not. He's not much of a talker. I tell you,
he just leaves and does whatever he wants.
We're good.
It's
going to stay out of the picture for now.
On your Spotify, we're all about this platform and giving back to the musician, and the musician mostly is the guy or gal that is kind of overwhelmed with not knowing where to start, and there's just too many shiny objects out there. That being said, now you're writing your music and you're putting it on Spotify. You have a lot of plays for your songs. How are you in marketing as well now? Is that something that you have?
No, I'm not in marketing. I just trying to fast forward the story, but I just started doing, and I know that I'm the king of overthinking, and so I just decided to just start and release something, and once I just started, things just started catching on. This distribution company in Nashville, they're called Tone Tree. That's who I distribute my music through. I got introduced to them from a friend, and it was just everything just happened so seamlessly, and it was all because I just decided to just not overthink and just start doing and just going for it, so
they're like that's awesome, man. So they're like a distro kit or TuneCore, except they're an actual mom and pop or a house, like an actual brick and mortar.
I don't know if they're brick and mortar, but they are like a very small company. And they just, I don't think you can necessarily sign on to them, like go online and sign on. I think you have to kind of be connected with them, and they have to, you have to
kind of the A&R process where
they
approach you.
Yeah. And so I chatted with,
that's a rarity these days.
Yeah. Cause I was honestly doing research online about DistroKid and what's that
CD Baby
and all these people.
Yeah.
And so my friend was like, "Hey, you should try these people." And so it just kind of worked. And the first song I released, it was so funny because the first song I released is called Sunshine, and it did fine. But then I started to look into the what's the word? The amount of plays that it got on Apple.
Spins. Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I was like, wait a second. It's gotten like, close to 1,000 plays or something on Spotify. But then over here on Apple, it's like 14,000. It's climbing like 1,000 a day. And I found out that I got on a huge Apple playlist. And I was like, whoa, you gotta be freaking kidding me. I can't believe this. So I got on that playlist, and it just, I don't know. It was amazing to watch that happen, all because I just decided to just go for it and not overthink it. I didn't have marketing. I didn't have any plans. All I knew was I have a studio here. I can make some music, and let's release it. So yeah,
it's a beautiful thing. And for everybody listening out there, it's one of those things where we do overcomplicate things. However, when we're looking for distribution, we're not even thinking about the old traditional companies that can help you and vet you out. I mean, I think that's what separates you from me and anybody else out there. It's all what you make it. But at the end of the day, if you have a team of people behind you that's going to believe in your music and vet you out, and then when they do vet you out, I guess they vet you out because they're actually going to put some skin in the game for your music, I would assume. So what was the incentive for you to go with them over any other platform that would be able to distribute your music?
I mean, to be honest, I don't really know if I thought it through like too much. I just knew that my friend used them, and he trusts them, and he loves them, and so I just kind of had a conversation with them about, what I should do. And I just kind of went with them because it was either like DistroKid or CD Baby, these websites, or it could be with some, real humans, and talking to them was just felt like the right choice. So I just went with them, and I really didn't know. I didn't understand everything completely, and I still don't, but they're great, and they put it on all the platforms and do all the things. So
when you're dealing with Tone Tree or someone like that, how is the experience varied and different from being on Geffen and to doing arena tours and stuff like that with Jessica? I'm with Ashley, and all the stuff that you guys got to do.
Well, it's such a boutique type of environment that they're just a phone call or an email away.
Sure.
Compared to just the complete opposite.
Mogul like Geffen.
Yeah. So you just never know when you'd hear from the president or when the next move was, and so you'd be doing a lot of waiting. Over here, it's a little bit more. I feel like I'm in charge, and it's empowering to feel that way.
Yeah.
Let the artist be the artist, and then just kind of be more of a conductor, that was what originally like a producer was, and I think it's now a producer is a beat maker, but that's not actually the title of what a producer does. The producer used to be the one that hired the band and knew the musicians and had the relationships with the studios and had the right engineer, and like he was more like the director or something. For in a movie, so he from guiding the performances to to just putting the team together.
The production team, producing, right, so you get the team of people that are awesome, or maybe know somebody else that's better for that certain artist.
Exactly.
Be able to match that talent up, and I think that's really good with like just leveraging and distributing the certain people that have that certain type of value they could bring for that artist, and that person producer just brings the best out of the artist, knows the kind of sound, kind of gets the idea, reiterates back to the artist, hey man, looks like you're trying to do this is what you could do better. And just like I think that there's a much deeper meaning to producer than just the beat maker thing going on there.
And that is obviously like a huge side of it these days. Production is really in the forefront of the songs today. I don't think it's really, there's some great songwriters out there, but I think as a whole, in the commercial industry of things and what's popular, it's really production. It leans on the production so hard where it didn't used to necessarily, a guitarist, a drummer, a piano player, a bass player, and a badass singer, and they're all amazing, at their craft. So that was the old school way, and it didn't have to have all this, shit to hide the fact that like maybe this artist isn't that good. Maybe this song isn't really that great.
A friend of mine sent me a track that they did in the studio like yesterday, and my first comment was, "Oh, so you set the auto-tune on stun, huh?"
right, man.
Probably ruffled a little feathers with that comment.
Hey, some people need to hear it though, man.
Like you and I think come from the same school on this. It's like, I'll just give a little example. Like recently I've been, obviously, and I've sent you some of the stuff, like I've been working on new tunes, and there's been a lot of room to grow there, like as far as my bass playing goes and stuff like that. And, I got really frustrated, but I worked at it. And I really find that, like, like you said, like the old school producer that you are, you got to work through it, right?
Man.
Point, and like get it to the point where it's right.
Totally. And, you recognizing those weaknesses too, and just making those strengths. If you realize your bass playing wasn't up to par, it's like you got to work on it and practice. And then, 2 weeks later, it's like you're doing shit that you weren't doing before.
Dude. It's like now it's like I can put tracks together so much quicker because of it. I'm not sitting there for hours figuring out, is this right or is that right? I just kind of do it now. It's kind of.
But I really, to answer your question, like I really like to be hands-on from start to finish. Like I'm not the best lyricist. I'm cool with some lyrics. I'm not the best concept person. I pull in. I pull from my teams, and I have people for each kind of project and each kind of flavor, because I do a lot of different genres, and from hip hop and R&B to very top 40 pop and indie alternative stuff, band stuff, metal. So I really like to dabble just like whatever is inspiring to me. But I like to be start to finish. I'm not just like, okay, here's your piece of music, now go away and come back to me when you have the song written. It's like, I want to hear the melodies. I want to hear how the transitions into each, part of the song. And then I want to push the lyricist to, if I'm working with a lyricist, or the artist, if they're solely writing their lyrics, to, okay, well, these lyrics could be better. If, and I don't really, I don't want to interject too quickly in those situations. I really like to let the ideas fully develop and then put it on record. And then if it's, listen back to it. And if it doesn't sound right, then that's my opportunity. And I feel like I had to kind of learn that with experience, and not interject too quickly, because you can really throw people off their vibe. If you're, they're trying to write a song, you're making the track, and you're constantly, oh wait, what about that? It's just like, just let them do their job. Yeah.
It just gets too confusing. When you are facilitating, say, someone's career, and you are being, kind of their first line of defense and facilitating certain situations, let's talk about how the business model's changed in the business in just the time that you've been in it, with going from moderate CD sales to iPods to streaming full on.
Yeah.
How have you had to pivot during that time?
I caught the tail end of the CD era.
Yeah,
I think I put out a couple CDs. I have a couple CDs with my name on it, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. In the last 2 years, you get laughed out of the room if you're like, let's put this out on CD. Mm-hmm. So people are, they're all digital, and vinyl's making a cool comeback. It's not going to make anybody rich, but it's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different approach. And honestly, to me now, music, instead of being a way to earn a living, which it used to be, in the early 2000s and way before that too. But like, an artist could make a song, and they could have a lot of success off it. They could still be paying to this day in their mailbox, getting money, and there will be royalties and residuals for the rest of their life. That is few and far between nowadays.
Yes.
And that's the Drakes of the world. He'll do fine, but
not
as far as
anytime soon.
Yeah, but as far as digital and what it provides today, more so than income, it's a marketing tool.
Yeah.
But it's a marketing tool for the tours. And now we're seeing how fragile that model is.
Yeah. So let's touch on that real quick. What do you, in your divine power, I guess, for your clients, and not to put it all on your shoulders, but what are you doing to kind of juke or zigzag what's going on in the market right now? Because I know you and I have had some private conversations, but like, are syncs becoming another thing? Are we actively going after that, or is it more of whatever's not nailed down and they'll pay us for, we'll take it?
It depends on what your artist wants to do and who they want to be. Mm-hmm. There's money out there for virtual corporate gigs. Sell 5 or 6 songs that you record at your house with the band, and you send them off and you're done. There's artists that are making 6 figures a time doing that, few and far between again, but it's happening. There's the new idea of these drive-in shows, which is super rad for California and Florida and other states where it's warm for May through September, October, but I don't see it being a long-term sustainable thing.
Sustainable model, yeah.
Yeah, but nobody does. Honestly, I think what people are doing right now is they're just trying to tread water long enough to where we figure out how this thing will all play out. But nobody's set on the fact that a vaccine is going to come around and save everybody. It could be a thing like the influenza. Every year you have to get your shot.
Yeah.
So I think as far as our industry, which is particularly in, I don't know, we're like in limbo, I guess. Right. We're just trying to figure out some avenues of revenue for our clients and, in turn for ourselves, to just get us through this period until somebody can tell us what is actually going on. So yes, there's a lot of opportunities right now if you take them. They're not as lucrative as, touring or any of those other things, but you can either lay down and quit, or you can hustle a little bit harder and make it through.
Let's talk about that a little bit, in the fact that, because obviously this is a common thread throughout our episodes, and part of the reason why the podcast was created was for artists that, like myself, and that are basically left to our own devices and taking entrepreneurship, don't have management because we just have nothing to manage. We have to manage ourselves. And with Live Nation and what they're doing, basically you're seeing the pivoting of doing live performances on the internet. And like, I'm going to say this again, Erykah Badu has done it great, where she started in her kitchen, charged $1 for people to be part of that live event, raised, I think, $300,000, then did another event, raised $400,000, then went to the venue and filmed, and then basically now has a stream of income coming in without the operational expenditures, and optimizing those operational expenditures and accessing an audience that she already cultivated before this from all the hard work and back work she did, and now is leveraging that audience and then probably capturing even more people and just killing it right now from that. And then, that's one stream of income right there. So boom. Now, okay, how do we supplement the live show aspect? I think that is where bands are going. You see Lamb of God doing it. You see Trivium. Those are metal bands, of course, but at the same time, that they're bands, and that's what people are doing right now. But to capture the quality that you would get, that connection that you're not getting from the live event on the line, that's the closest thing you can get to supplement the live actual connection that you're not getting out there. How do you feel about that? And that's where I see it going. I watch every day. I'm sure we're looking on the internet. You're seeing all these bands.
Bands in town's got something new every day now.
Oh yeah, but see that then now you're running into the what is too much lane. Mm-hmm. There's only so many fans out there. There's only so many people that'll pay. I get it. It's $10 a ticket for a live stream, but how many times are you going to do it?
Right. So
it's cool. It's cool to get on the train right now. Right. But where do we go in 3 months?
In 3 months. Yeah. So there's like
when it becomes kind of like old suit. Yeah. Where do you go with it?
You got to change it up, I guess. And I'm just shooting the shit here, but from just looking at what artists are doing, like Stephanie Quayle, she's a country artist. She works with Mike's good friend that we interviewed for our first episode ever, David Shaw. She has a show that she has, and she basically lets people in and then talks to her fans, and they literally pay a subscription for it. And they get some type of care package or type of like one-on-one. So, I guess you just kind of think out of the box a little bit, but that's treading water as well. But I think there's ways that people are so used to one way, it's going to be hard to really, there's going to be resistance there. Right. And then the whole thing of setting up your shit so it sounds good, that's another big thing. But that's what I see happening, and I'm just kind of bringing it to the center here because that's what's going on right now. So hopefully whatever 2020 didn't bring, it can happen in 2021, but how, bands have to sustain themselves somehow, So, are you guys are you meeting with your artists and talking about different avenues of streams of income for them, or is it
of course. We're doing, licensing deals. We're doing, virtual this, that, and the others. I'm now part of the first thing and probably the weirdest thing is these virtual meet and greets, where a fan gets to spend, 60 seconds to 3 minutes in a chat with the artist and take a computer selfie, and
awesome.
And that's their way of interacting and supporting their favorite artists. I think it gives them the opportunity to meet them on a level at which we can right now, and I think that's what the fan really gains from that. I think that they get an individual conversation with the artist, which is cool, and then they do feel they feel some sense that they were able to help their favorite artist.
You're part of
yeah, you're a part of something. But again, it's like, I think that is cool. For me, I've always had a little bit of a problem with those subscription-based services where it's monthly and you are always paying into the artists. What is it, like Patreon does that, or Patreon? Yeah, so like they do that. I think it's cool, and I really think that it helps artists at a certain level. But at some point, you've gone to the well just too much. I know so many artists that I feel are like they're crowdfunding their life.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I want them to get out of that. Like, as far as, you know, whenever I talk to artists, and I've had artists that do that, and it's just like, okay, man, but that's going to end. I mean, the fans are going to get tired of having their picture in the album booklet cover, you know, or whatever it is. You got to innovate, you got to move on, and you got to find a way that your art, like your touring or your meet and greets or your merch and all the things that come together, those should be able to pay for your lifestyle.
Soundtrack. You know what I mean?
There's a soundtrack to your life.
When you walk down the street and the birds are chirping, that is music. That is a form of communication at some point, you know.
It really is. And
you know, whether they're pleasant melodic noises or dissonant noises, it's
you ever just like
rich tapestry.
You ever like just, I don't know, you're driving or like you feel you're in some type of mood, and you're walking down the street and like you hear like this theme music behind you. Like, you
know what? Okay, I got a story about that. It's kind of near. Yeah, it's kind of near your house. So Vandenberg Funeral Home, in Ramsey, New Jersey. You know, right there by Darlington. So I've been to. I think I've been to 4 funerals there.
Jesus.
Every time I've left there, and this is and I don't know what the fuck this is with me, but like every time I've gone for a wake there and left, and this is so dark. I mean, it's kind of Halloween-y, so we'll kind of go with it. But every time I've left there or gone there, I always remember hearing music in the background. But there was no music.
Right. What did it sound like?
It was just like organ, like nice, like, but it was so like low and light, and like I don't know what it is.
Like the lady from Edward Scissorhands that plays the organ.
Kind of, yeah. Like, I mean, but even more like subdued than that. Like, do you remember the music they were playing? I asked my sister that one time. She goes, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
There's no music.
There was no music.
All in your head.
Part of what I tell everybody is you learn from every experience. So if you're a new band and you're on tour and you're with a band that's been doing this, you could learn a lot from them, you know? So we did that on our early tours with Bad Brains and then Biohazard, who we ended up touring with like through 94 and 95. I mean, we played hundreds of shows together.
So when you two guys were touring with Bad Brains, when you're touring with Biohazard, that's like around Tales of the Hard Side and State of the World Address and stuff like that.
So we have been playing with them even when they were like a demo band and they came out with their first album on Maze Records. They were playing with Mucky Pup all the time as an opener, and Mucky Pup took them to Europe in 90 for the first time as an opener. And then basically when 94 came out and they were coming out with the State of the World Address album, they got us back as a favor. It wasn't Mucky Pup, but it was most of the guys and brought us on as the opener. So that worked out really well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
My career and Albro Kings wouldn't be the thing it is today if it weren't for that tour. I mean, Biohazard, Dog Eat Dog, Downset in every country in Europe, and just pummeling every night, and it just caused.
There's a band that I remember too, Taste of Chaos. I saw them late like in 2000. So
who's that?
Downset.
Oh, Downset, Jesus, yeah. But hey, so let's go back to the Biohazard thing. I mean, Biohazard was signed to Warner Brothers at that point, right? Yeah, that was their first major release, and you guys were on Roadrunner at that point. And it was like, you know, Roadrunner was kind of the gold standard of metal at that point because they had come from Roadrunner and went to Warner Brothers.
That's right.
So like, you know, I love Biohazard. I love hardcore music in general. I was raised in Jersey, now live in LA. But, you know, watching the scene change and kind of learning from it as time went on, I toured for a long time. I agree with you, going through kind of the regimen as a new band or a new crew member or whatever, like the amount of knowledge you gain each day from an older band is indispensable. Would you agree, just as far as new bands learning the ropes per se?
Well, you could either walk into a situation cocky with attitude, or you can walk in humble and basically make friends and learn from your situation. And Doggy Dog has always been that way from day one. We've been like, there is no line between who's bigger, who's not, and we're there to have a good time, enjoy, spread positive vibes. And that's what we've done for 30 years. And we really haven't changed anything. And I believe that if you're good people, good things will come back to you and have come back to us. Even when we've hit our lowest point, like this band, it seems like we should give up. All of a sudden an opportunity, comes out and we're saved again. So like good things happen because, you're making friends for 30 years. Friends got your back. And when you need them, they're there. All of a sudden we're hooked up with a new label or, some kind of, good photographer out of the blue to take free, amazing pictures of the band, like whatever it may be. It's just those opportunities will keep coming if you generate them with good, positive vibes to the people you meet. And if you're in a band, it goes from the guy who opens the door for you, pouring the drinks, doing the sound and lights. I mean, there's so many people involved in bands playing that don't even get a thank you at the end of the night from the bands who they've taken care of. So we learned that a long time ago, and especially on that Biohazard tour, like how you take care of the people that are helping you.
Yeah, and to your point right now, like so many clubs are closing up, like you said, from the bartenders, like, it's not a joke anymore. Tip your bartenders and waitresses. Over the summer, he was with them on Amarth. I got to see that whole process as their production manager, which was kind of a new entree for you, right? That was the first you've production managed before.
It was a fun challenge. It was kind of like assembling the Disneyland show for everybody, and really networking and bringing in a lot of my talented friends and other people that really helped elevate an already existing cool show to another level. Mm-hmm. And it was just fun being part of it. And I'm not going to say a lot about it other than if you get a chance, go out and see them. The show is fantastic.
Oh, it's amazing.
The Europe show was obviously the best because that's where we had the real. And
I got to see a slight glimpse of it at the Palladium in LA in October when they were doing the last US show here in Los Angeles. And man, I tell you, a 50-foot dragon does not look impressive unless you have flames around it.
Oh,
and I know the Ice Titans and everything else, and I'm kind of giving it away, but like I've seen some of it on YouTube, and it's freaking sick.
Yeah, and props again out to the good folks at Airworks because they do such incredible work there. It's so detailed, and I can tell you right now how sturdy their stuff is, having watched their inflatables get tagged with G-flames and not falling apart. And G-flames are not a laughing matter. They would send us to the hospital with third-degree burns.
Yeah. Okay.
These guys stayed inflated. So, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of talented people out there that make shows like that. And, and any of those shows with theatrics like Iron Maiden, things of that nature, are the companies you never hear about. And they're in Holland. And they're the only company that they're the ones. Every inflatable that you see on tour right now, anyone that's got any notoriety, was built by them.
I saw the one with Mana, and it literally at the Forum back in December, and it was this amazing 75-foot. Thanks to the good folks at Live Nation for getting me into that show. But it was an amazing 75-foot elephant that just popped out of nowhere. And then the trunk moved like back and forth and was swaying out CO2 out the bottom of it. It was amazing.
That's great.
That's pretty bad.
What's really cool about stuff like that is you see how large that is. We move those around in road cases that aren't, they're not small, but they're usually not even. They're about a 16th of the size of the case of the object that you see. It's how they're inflated. We use Gibbons fans, and they're each fan, like for instance with the Ice Vikings, they take 2 apiece. So that's 4 horsepower of air being blown into it at a high rate. And so they have to go up quick. Anyway, all that stuff was fun. I never really dove into the full production manager thing, and I had a good time doing that.
It was really cool because I got to actually, when Steven comes or runner, and it's always fun because you get to hang out with your best friend. But the thing was, is on that one, I actually got to go to some of the production meetings with him and see how they were putting this stuff together at Gallagher, and it was just impressive.
Oh, that's right. You were there. We were doing the European hype.
I was there for the rising of the drum riser, the Lionel Richie piano drum riser that became the Amanda Martha drum riser. And then I was there like in the early beginnings when they were just sketches. They weren't even, a lot of the drum riser and stuff wasn't even put together yet.
Yeah, well, that exactly. So you were there during the inception of some of these ideas.
Oh,
yeah. That was. Wow! What can you say?
Like, wow. Yeah.
Actually, you know who was in charge of that whole riser in Europe, who really made that happen every day, was James McMahon.
So interesting, because that's a question I had for you. Is I've known you for a short period of time. I think we've known each other for about a year or so. Mm-hmm. And one thing I know about you is your giving nature as a person. The good guy you are. And the thing, because this show we don't have dicks on the show. Our thing is don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
And you're the guy. Yeah. So go to Teespring for our Don't Be a Dick merchandise. We gotta get you a shirt. Actually, remind me on that one. I gotta get you one. But the thing is you always are the guy who does it service and a smile. I don't see you as the guy who complains. I don't see you the guy, and everyone I talk to in the industry, whether it's Steve Shaw, who was on 2 episodes ago, or anyone else, the one thing they say about Peking is that he's this awesome dude.
Thank you.
Where do you kind of get the service and a smile from? Is there a deeper purpose to what you do for musicians? Because you see a lot of crew guys who are just like fucking ego all day long, and just they're not good at their job, but it's everyone else's fucking fault, and somehow they still have a fucking job, and it's like
I've met a few.
You and I both. Yeah. Unfortunately, none of our friends are like that, but there are a lot out there who are. And kind of what's kind of like your motto or your kind of mindset to when you're serving an artist and you're doing the things you're doing for them on the road?
Right. For me, it's just a matter of the artist is there to, come in there, kick ass, play for these fans that want to hear what they want to hear and see the bands that they love. And my best thing is I want to make sure that they get that experience. The fans deserve that experience. Wow. The little kids coming up that are looking up to their idols and stuff, and that's what they're seeing. They deserve the best possible thing they can get. So I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that they get exactly that every time. And I want the people that are out there to have a good time. I want the local hands to have a good time. I want my crew to have a good time. I just want everybody to enjoy. I mean, what do we have to bitch about? I mean, we're out there on the road. I've done the everything from the dirtiest blue collar of jobs, working. I used to climb around inside of a thing that made cinder blocks, this big ass concrete machine, and chisel it out at the end of a 16-hour day, and I've done all kinds of odd jobs where you just got to bust your ass all the time. So there's a lot to be thankful for in what we do. So we have nothing to bitch about other than maybe equipment fucking up.
So what's the favorite thing about your job? And speaking of drinking, besides your morning ritual?
Oh yeah, the favorite thing about my job is just I'm a creature of habit, for one thing. So it's it's doing the same puzzle every day, and I love it. But the difference is going into different venues and doing it. It's a challenge every day to make everything that you have, depending on what band you're with, work on whatever stage that you're on. Because not everything's the same. Power is going to be different. The setup is going to be different. Whether or not you can hang a backdrop or a kabuki drop depends, on what they have there in the club. And sometimes it gives you leeway to get adventurous, and I like that shit. So it makes it fun.
It's very cool. kind of like give me like a challenge that you come across you've in a real life situation when you're venue to another venue where
all right, we'll say for Black Label Society, Zach uses a kabuki drop at the front of the stage, and you will have to see what is available in-house for you to hang it on, or
because you guys don't travel with your own truss.
Right, exactly. And if it's, it depends. It might be if it's a union house, they're not going to let you do it, which I kind of skip most of those anyway and do it anyway. But it's a matter of climbing up trusses and shit that they already have there. Except in New York. Except in New York. That's right.
Because you might be floating in the river.
Yeah, that too. There and I think the only other place that wouldn't let me do it was the Grove in Anaheim. They wouldn't let me do it either.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But other places I've gone in, huh? It's a union house. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I remember when Shaw was out with Nothing Face and was on the Reinvent the Steel tour, and Pantera played 3 nights at Hammerstein. And just this is a New York story. Pantera had, on the Reinvent the Steel tour, had that huge Pantera logo sign that shot fire and CO2 and everything else. I'm sure you've seen it in their warehouse. And the good fine fellas of New York Union Society freaking decided that, hey, you ain't going up, man. This is, a union, blah, blah, blah. And it was a real fight to get them to see it their way. Like, who knows, maybe money exchanged hands, but it went up without a hitch. But that's a real thing. Especially dealing with pyro, it's a little different, but
kind of brings me back to the movie Fight Club when they're the owner walks in. He's like, "Who said you could come here?" They're like, "Oh, we got permission from Bob or something." He's like, "Well, the sign on the fucking place says Lou's." He's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm fucking Lou."
We always stripped it down to what we could do as a 5-piece and make it nasty. It's go into a gunfight with a fucking razor blade. Not going on stage with 4 fucking apples on the side stage running backing tracks.
And it's so much the standard now. Like, bands playing to themselves over Pro Tools rigs and shit.
And faking it in the microphone, like these jackasses going up there pretending they're singing. And the people out front don't know any fucking different. They're like, man, that guy is singing so fucking great.
They were just like the record because it was the record.
That's right. He ain't singing shit, man.
I love the rawness. Fuck that shit. I'm okay with the backing samples and stuff. But when it comes to the singing part, I know a lot of bands do that.
Listen, look, we all, I come from a generation like you guys. Okay, you come up, it's about putting on a fucking guitar, getting behind a drum kit, and beat the fuck out of it. Face, and even something it was all live. You know what I mean? We didn't have inner ears. We didn't have a fucking a tempo going on. We didn't have none of that shit. Sometimes the samples would be a little faster than what we were playing, or vice versa. We might be going a little bit too fast for the sample, but who gives a fuck? It's live. You just do it and you kick some ass. Right. The record, if you want to hear the record, there it is. Put it on stay home and fucking smoke some weed and fucking just get lost in it. But live is supposed to be live.
You should downstroke so fast that you drool.
I still do. I might not be as fluid as I used to be. Nothing Face riffs, man, were fucking devastating.
By the way, you just recently had surgery on your hand, right?
My left hand, yeah. The right hand still crushes it, but they all work in unison with each other. But I had to get I was getting trigger finger because I got in a car accident, and my middle finger would lock up, like it would get like in this position, and I could not will it back up. It would just stay there. I had to push it to get up to go make it go up. So they I don't know if you can see the scar or not, but
oh wow,
yeah.
But I had a fantastic hand surgeon who happened to be a huge Nothing Face and huge Pantera fan.
Loved
how and we'd sit there and we'd talk, and I mean, he still sends. I mean, he's so cool that we text each other all the time, and he sends me videos of him playing AC/DC or some shit, or some shitty guitar he's got. You know what I mean? He's fucking surgeon, and he's got a shitty fucking guitar.
Lose the Porsche and get a real Gibson, bro.
Dude, seriously.
You can have it both. You can have it all.
Right.
That's
right. That's right.
Yeah, man. I have a dislocated finger right here. And
God, look at that.
Never got surgery on it, or I'm like 3 people. No, like my parents were like never got surgery on it. I was 12, and it's never ever been the same. So it locks.
What did you do?
I was playing basketball with my brother, and I kept rejecting him, and then my finger popped out, and it's never been the same. But I mean, I get around, but it locks up all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, whatever I do, I'll like open the door and it like pops out. I'm like, oh shit! It's like back here. I'm like,
I'm sure you could still get it worked on if you really cared to do it, but
the guy said he's like they got to put the ligaments and like they're stretched out to hell. But I was like, let me use my strong hand. Look at this.
That's fucked up. Oh,
so now okay,
yeah,
the dexterity's all good. And
you know, yeah. I mean, if I could say before that happened, I was at 100%. Right now, it's probably like 99%. You know what I mean? There's a little things, but you know what? It only bothers me if I do a slide or something. You know what I mean? But there's no pain anymore. You know, it was pretty successful.
you take your vitamin 3 so you keep it lubricated.
Yes.
It does. It really does. I think it does.
I do a lot of sanding as well.
What do you mean sanding? You're just being like sarcastic.
No, like seriously, like
or for the honey.
Like that motion, like this motion, like fucking what's his name? Daniel-san from Daniel-san.
Daniel-san.
That stuff that actually really helps out. So what I would do, even back in the Nothing Face days, man, I would just sit with like a rag or a piece of sandpaper on a wall and just go back and forth constantly with both hands, just kind of like warming it up a little bit, but also just kind of getting that motion to the point where it was just like, secondary,
It was just natural. That's fine.
Off-season training with Tom Maxwell.
Back when I was driven to do things like that.
What we found is that a lot of the time with the shows, that we'd end up on the light guy or the sound guy and the ticketing guy, and all of a sudden we play a show, and especially in Los Angeles, we end up owing $150, but nobody showed up. So we were just like, we're just going to go out to the corner and just, like we're just always of that. But the thing is, we love to play shows. It's just we generally can't afford them.
I understand. I'm in that boat too, man. Playing shows and paying to play and then selling tickets and then people not showing up and you're not getting your money's worth. It's more of a hassle than not. I think that if you combined the traditional show aspect and, the parameters of that show is going to be a little more enticing for you and more, it's going to be more beneficial for you. And then going on the street and then playing your instruments. Does that harness in traffic for your shows as well? I feel like that would be a good way to harness a fan base. And then when you do have a show, it would be that much better in the area that you're playing on the street for, combining.
Yes, and honestly, that's what we've been doing, because we've been able to get, we actually, through busking, we got all the press and stuff that we never needed to hire, press agents, because we actually made the LA Times and the cover of the Los Feliz Ledger. I'll send you that one. We've made all these different papers just out there.
Talk about major papers, Los Feliz Ledgers.
Los Feliz Ledger! That's too much rock for one hand, bro.
Too much melt for one hand, dude. One of my favorite expressions.
It's awesome.
but yeah, no, we've been lucky enough just to be able to do that. But the other thing is we have played festival shows. We played Huck Finn last year, and Huck Finn's going virtual this year. It's the longest running bluegrass folk festival in California on the West Coast. And last year we had some big names. I think Roger McGinn might be there this year, Billy Strings. Wow. But we're trying to make it virtual. I actually got to be the host of that last year, so it was really cool. Welcome to LA thing for us after being here for 5 years on the street. Finally, I feel like people were like, all right, let's give Water Tower a chance. And we got a nice slot, and we got to open for Steve Martin's band, and it was really cool.
No way. Did Steve Martin play banjo? Was Steve Martin there?
His band came, but he was a little too expensive. We couldn't afford the Steve Martin, but we got his band.
We got the Steve Canyon Rangers.
We got the Steve Canyon Rangers, the one he won the Grammy with. But the thing is, if you want Steve to come, I think it's a little more expensive.
Steve, the actor?
Yeah, dude. You didn't know he is like one of the. Okay, you're young.
Here we go.
He used to bring his banjo on Saturday Night Live and play it.
I have no idea. That's so cool,
dude. And and you have to watch him and Martin Short's special on Netflix, where he plays with that band. I think it's that band.
Yes, it's them.
They did a show in South Carolina by my dad's house. My dad was at that show. Somehow it got mentioned, but I'm not quite sure. But it's near Charleston, South Carolina, where they filmed it. But
that's because that's where they're from, right? The Steve Canyon
and that's where the band's from, I believe. So
yeah, that's where it's from.
But he plays banjo, dude, like legit.
The real
banjo.
deal. The real
legit.
Yeah.
Like from a Disneyland cast member to Saturday Night Live to you didn't know he played banjo with an arrow through his head, dude. Legit. But the thing is that like it's those kinds of things that people don't realize. I mean, there's also like, here in LA, I know there's a huge community like the Topanga Bluegrass. Is it the Topanga Bluegrass Festival as well?
Oh my gosh, I should mention that too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know you guys were I saw your flat picking video for that. Your audition flat picking video. I got to send this stuff to you, Greg. It's pretty amazing. I just happened to see it today before the show, but like I watched that and it's like you guys are like you guys are this bespoke kind of type of music that's going to be long forgotten if people don't preserve it. By me saying that, my question is this: do you guys think you're trussing up a tradition on your shoulders as a band to kind of, basically, kind of be this younger generation to preserve that old American roots type of country? I mean, you have artists like Jason Isbell, you have artists, but they're not that, I mean, they're country, yes, and they're outlaw country, but they're not that traditional bluegrass, like straight flat picking. Like you don't see kids these days going, I want to be like so-and-so who's this amazing flat picker. No, I want to be like Toast and Abbasi and Animals as leaders and add 2 more strings to the guitar. You know what I mean? And not that there's anything wrong with that. I love Tosin, but the thing is like, it seems like you guys kind of have trussed this thing up in a lot of ways. Do you guys feel that way? Do you guys feel you're like carrying the torch into the 20s, to kind of preserve this way of life, this style of music?
I think we just live it and we just love it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that way too. It's almost, and you'd be surprised too. Like Kenny was saying, I spent a lot of years just chasing around fiddle festivals, and they're like this underground society of people that they get together and like they could literally be in the field next to your neighborhood and no one would ever know, because the only people that are there are the people that play that music. But there's a surprising amount, and there's surprising, and it's one end of the country to the other. In every state, there's those kind of things go on, and not just infrequently. I mean, it's almost any night of the week in every major city you can probably find like an old time or bluegrass jam, like
what the Veeps is doing right now, because that is missing right now. So when I saw what he told me, and I looked at it, I was like, that is something I can really stand behind, because it's really, that's what's needed right now. And I kind of want to get into how that works. So when somebody, a band has a concert streamed, is it going to be because they're not touring right now? If it's like, you got to find the band where their location is. So logistically, if somebody's in LA, are they going to play a venue in LA and they're going to get streamed there versus, in New York City at the Beacon Theater, et cetera, et cetera?
It's totally up to the artist. So that's kind of what we preach, is that every artist is different. Every artist brand is different. And what's going to work for one is not going to work for all. Right. So the beauty in what the platform is that we take 0 commission out of the ticket sales from the artist. We are the only platform out there that takes absolutely 0 commission. The artist keeps what they make in ticket revenue, less credit card fees, which is fraction. Of the revenue. It's a very, very, very small percentage. And then what we do is we charge a 15% service fee on top of the ticket directly to the fan to cover our hard costs that we have, which is, allowing this having this platform for all these artists.
Things cost money.
Exactly. Because it's not free to utilize, for us to build in this software into this platform and build out all we've got a chatbot feature where we're watching fans communicate from all over the world and creating friendships and swapping information through that, and people they would have never met at a show that would have been in your local market.
So that's huge, as Donald Trump would say. But I was going to say, so to me, and the silver lining through all of this shit is the learning curve, one, but two, to have a company that's already putting in the time and developing proprietary methods to be able to make the concert as quality as possible, to get that connection that we're missing on the live organicness that is missing out. However, the cost versus operating costs and logistics versus touring on the traditional model, you're going to save so much more money. Yep. And there's so much more money to be made and so much more audience to capture, get in, just because if you're a bigger
worldwide thing, it is 100% a worldwide thing. You as an artist, you sign up on the platform, you create your own, and our branding takes a back seat. So it's whatever the artist's name is. So we've got a ton going on with, God love her and her entire team too, Brandy Carlisle. So it's brandycarlisle.beeps.com. And it's your image that you want in there. You click view live stream. Here's all your ticket packages. It costs you $0 as an artist to sign up for the platform. When you sign up for the platform, you get assigned an artist relations rep. Our artist relations team is unbelievable.
Lindsay, do you work with any band, or do you work with select bands, or like?
I work with a variety of bands.
Like, what if you suck though, and you want to still?
If you suck and you hit me up, let me try to help you. Not suck. But you get that artist relations rep who's going to hold your hand in building the event with you and making sure that everything's kind of going right. You get my girl Kat, who is our live stream tech consultant, who's going to help you out with the mics and feeding out all the audio and video through OBS or whichever streaming.
Okay, we need to talk to her. Because OBS has been a fucking beast for us.
Okay, we'll talk to Kat because my little Miss Kat Cody, and she's the reason why I'm here, and she's just unbelievably smart and just is one of those people that is like, I don't know about that now, but I'm going to know more about it than most people do in 5 minutes from now. So just give me 5, but and then you also get the marketing support where I've built out for, artists to keep this a little bit more turnkey, sort of like a 2-page sheet of like, this is what we've seen be successful. Here are the tactics that we've seen sell more tickets. Here's a checklist for you to be able to download with the sample, social media posting schedule so you can, make sure that you're staying on top of things. Here's, every so often we'll be able to support some of these artists by throwing a little bit of our budget behind them just to help them drive more ticket sales because we believe in them. And it's more about making sure these artists are marketing the platform for us. At the end of the day, if we take care of these artists are going to tell other people about the positive experience that they've had utilizing the platform and how much more money they made than they thought that they were actually going to make. And that word of mouth is the only marketing power that we really care about.
Great how it and again, I'm going to use that word, in the infrastructure of what you guys were doing pre-COVID was being looked into, and then it was kind of like put to the side, and then all of a sudden it was like, well, glad we did that research because now we're going to fucking implement this because lucky we did that. And
it too is when people hear 70, 80 hours of work, they're thinking I'm sitting at a cubicle, right? And it's like, I'm not actually, I'm just doing what I'd be doing if, with my free time basically. So, it can be tedious, composing is for the kind of stuff that I'm doing isn't necessarily like bop your head stuff sometimes. Like it's very, droning and there's not really a lot of action to it. Sometimes there is, but it's really more about tension. And then also you have to think about the visual side of things. Like I'm seeing the same thing over and over again for hours and hours and hours. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's good to just, take a break, pick up the guitar and my new thing that I've found, because it's not, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm bored as a guitar player, because I'm not that good. Like I can play guitar, but I'm not Jeff Loomis. You know what I mean? I'm not bored with it. I haven't learned all the words in the dictionary, right?
Yeah, I understand 100%. Yeah.
So now my new thing is I've been learning new tunings. Like I come up with new tunings based on like chords or scales or something. And I've been like experimenting with that. And I find that much like Mick Gordon, who I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's the guy who does he does the Doom video game scoring. Oh, nice. Yeah, he's a metal guy. He's awesome. But like he said something really apropos in I think he did a GDC interview that was like an hour long about the music. And he talked about how like your approach to what you're doing, if you change it, you get better results. So instead of just picking up the guitar and tuning B, E, A, D, G, B, E, I'm like, let me try something weird. So I'll try like E0 and then like E, like E flat and then D, G, whatever. I just like throw weird tunings out, and I have a book on my desk that I use for composing that I take notes in. And I have like a whole tuning section. I just write down tunings, and I like, you can't look at it and just identify what it's going to do for you right away. So I come up with really weird names for it. So like that one I call the extinction level tuning, because I know exactly what it's going to sound like when I play it. So I have like a way to identify it, so to speak. So yeah, I just got to find new ways to keep it interesting, I guess.
It's like an analogy would be like just like a working title for a song, right? Until it's
exactly
a real song. You're tuning.
The Booger Bop song or something. And you're like, right. What the hell is that? And then it turns out to be like the Faint Red Door when you put it
down. Right. It's fucking great. I love working titles. But yeah, man, that's amazing. It's I watched you and just, I didn't watch you like a creep, like, I
watch you sleeping.
Okay.
Well, that's okay. I do that to you, so I feel like it's fair.
We started this
I'm behind you.
Greg's been slivered.
This show has started because of the fact that I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to, showcase people, and Mike has great relationships in the industry that he built, and I just want to showcase people that I think are great, and that we're such an egotistical breed of people that we hate to press a like on something, or we hate to share somebody's stuff, or we hate to we don't hate it, but we're haters, right? The second our reptilian brain is like, I fuck that, I'm not gonna like that because that's gonna make
competitive.
But you know what I think, or what I feel, and this is how I want to showcase the talent that I think is great. And I'm talking about myself. I need to do that for myself. Right. But I also think there's like a movement that needs to happen. And this show was started due to that feeling that Mike and I both had. And that's really showcasing some great talent in areas that are in the United States or all over the world that, I see going on. And I'm like, that guy needs more recognition, or like we should do cross promotion. Like, so we have this platform to be able to do that and showcase that. So I'd love to see more people or more bands even, just start doing that and start
more community,
more camaraderie. Yes. Like back, we watched, what's the 80s metal, San Francisco metal?
Murder in the Front Row.
Okay. So when I watched that, and Mike told me to watch that, thank you. It just, there was a camaraderie back in the 80s that we just do not have right now. We feel like we're entitled, we're self-loathing, and we're fucking like, check out my band. It's like, dude, nobody's going to want to check out your band when you tell them what to do.
Right.
Put it out there. Just like, where's the camaraderie? So like, I hope this starts that again, reignites that kind of ignition, or shows some type of spark. But I've watched you from Binary Code, playing with you, to what you're doing now. It's fucking amazing, man, because again, as a musician, as an original artist, how do you monetize what you do? How do you actually find different individual streams of income that you could create? And maybe you could kind of go into that. You don't have to tell us the political part about it, or like there's, your networking, but like, how did you get to where you are right now working with Marvel from what you were doing before?
Yeah. So, and I think it's really unfortunate because metal music, in my estimation, based on research I've done to fortify my disposition, is the smallest. It's like a micro drop of water in an ocean of music. And we think we're so high and mighty and big. And it's like, dude, you should be grabbing at straws right now. Like, you should be celebrating every single person that you possibly can, because it's too small. Like, if this was an apocalypse and music was like a community, like, we'd get killed off immediately because we're so small.
Because we're not doing Drake numbers. I mean, then
right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's honest truth.
Even indie rock, you know what I mean? Like, there's crap out there that's made in like 10 minutes that reaches more audiences. And the reason why we don't is because we're supposed to be this forward-thinking, progressive community, but like the ideological side of that is completely amiss. And it's really unfortunate, because I see it. I see two sides to things. First off, I see people trying to act like they've been my friend for a long time, which is absolutely ridiculous. And it's so obvious to me. Like, I have people who will be like, oh, dude, I'm so proud of you. You know, like when I post something about something I've done, and it's like, dude, I don't even talk to you. What are you talking about? Like, I don't think we've ever met. What are we so proud
Hey, man, I've been hating on you since 2003, and I'm just going to say
exactly
now because you're doing something big. So
yeah, I figured if I say you're great, then I'm cool by proxy.
He's trying not to do the whole, who are you?
Yeah, I know. I just, you know what, man, like, you got to get to the point where you're just like, yeah, dude, cool. Because I don't really need to politic anymore. Like, I'm kind of over it with the whole metal scene. Sure. I just don't give a shit.
You know, I do entertainment. I do, I can have a corporate group with me. I have a tax group. If someone has a real estate issue or a labor issue, so it's a lot easier for me now to provide a more of a,
robust
service to the clients. So.
And that background inherently worked out for you, right? In intellectual property.
Yes.
You bring over it's like, okay, there was a purpose for that. You know, there was
absolutely. And intellectual property melds well with areas of entertainment, because, like I said, entertainment now is driven by intellectual property. Mm-hmm. So even a lot of the production agreements and agreements with actors and all that, a lot of it now is dealt with what they do with the actor's image on merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing another one of those Marvel movies, I mean, you're going to have dolls and toys and shirts and posters and theme parks and restaurants and things like that. So they all want to have all the actors want to have a little piece of the merch. They want to get a percentage of the merch if they're big enough.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
And so that, that kind of drives me to my next question. And Mike, I know you have some on your mind too. It's just
sure.
as you speak,
keep going.
Percolating in my head here.
Right.
So now, are you working more with musicians or more actors? Which side are you going with more? Is it equal?
It's kind of strange, because it really depends on almost the week. A lot of the people I'm working with now are social media influencers and YouTube personalities.
Okay.
And a lot of them are everywhere. They will do, fashion, blogs or fashion presentations, but some of them also do music and they sing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all kind of whatever it takes, to kind of get to be popular. So, and I'll work with a band or an existing client of mine who's a band, but a lot of them are coming from YouTube and from Facebook and all that kind of stuff, and they're all over the place. They're everywhere. They do they're talented in so many different areas that, in essence, it's global. It's global.
Right. And I think that drives my next point as a musician versus being just a musician and an entrepreneur. There's so many ways to monetize your craft that you don't need a label. Essentially, you can literally hire somebody like yourself if you have the clout to do it. The money, the dough. Whether how much that would be, I don't know how you charge, but it's none of my business. However,
right.
My point is that there is a ways to monetize multiple streams of income just by being a YouTuber or a social media influencer. And that, you, the musician or the passionate person out there, just need to take kind of steps forward and take action and start doing that and stay consistent in it, which drives back from our last episodes, kind of comes a little bit full circle here with getting to the point where you need somebody like yourself to be able to account for those positions that you have and making sure you're getting those credits and the royalties that you deserve that are out there right now. So do you find yourself having to go to bat for these people? And like, I heard Spotify, a lot of people or musicians don't even realize that they can collect on their streams and they don't even do it because it's too much of a hassle to get through corporate or whatever. But like, are you finding yourself having to go to bat for these guys and fight more for them?
At this point, not really, because if some of these, when I come in, I'm usually being I'm brought in through either a business manager or already another entertainment lawyer to come in and do this one particular piece. And then I do other things for clients who don't have a manager or don't have an entertainment lawyer, but they're usually not in the music area at this point. So if there are any issues for royalties, I haven't been quite brought in yet, but that would be handled usually by the managers or the entertainment lawyers who I work with. Because again, if I get a matter that comes in from a referral source, my job is not to tread on their toes and try to do something that they already do.
Right.
Now there may be issues where I'll point something to them and say, hey, are you aware of this new law? Are you aware of this or something like that? And I'll bring it to them first. And if they say, yeah, well, I say, well, do you want to handle it or do you want me to handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll do it that way. But I always ask permission from the referral source as to who wants to handle it. Most of the time they want to handle it. They'll handle it themselves.
Okay.
They're in a business too. They don't want to have someone like myself take business away from them. So
Sure. Very, very interesting. It's just like it's from back in the day, from being a musician and having an entertainment lawyer to now, it seems like the opportunity is really in the musician's hands. See that picture of Vince right behind P-King over there? That's fucking badass.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Dude, my favorite memory was every smile that motherfucker ever gave me. Coming off the riser, having a good show, seeing him up there having a good time. Those are my favorite memories. And Wes's line checks.
And this paddle ball and my dog shit.
That's all I need. And this lamp. We had a time on a day off once that was pretty cool. We were doing a show in Tel Aviv and had a day off and got to ride over to Jerusalem and walk through and see where some of these, whether you're religious or not, just seeing the places where some of these old stories happen was absolutely incredible. Got to float in the Dead Sea for an hour. That day, that's something that not a lot of people get to do, and it was super cool.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Sweet.
Michael?
Besides the obvious, I was always a fan of the music. When I was a kid in South Germany, it was a small world, end of the 80s, no internet, no phones, blah, blah, blah. You buy records when it's the next Kiss record coming out. Working for all these bands, all my heroes, Dio, Kiss, Maiden, Priest, then meeting Shaw at some point, Steve, and working for Buck Cherry, and then that was the in to work for one of my favorite bands, Kiss, right? So that was pretty cool stuff. And
I was actually on the Kiss tour.
Exactly. Yeah. And so those are cool moments. But I met my wife, and we have 2 children, actually on the road. She was working for lots of bands, Sheryl Crow, and many others, and Stones, and nice. And so we met. She got a gig, a fill-in gig as a tour manager assistant on the Deep Purple tour.
Wow!
Back in 2004 or 3, and so we met in Canada, and we got to travel the world together and fall in love. And I was sneaking out to the band hotel, hitting on her and trying to, get her into my hotel room and whatnot. And
is that against policy? Was that against policy? Or?
Kind of. I mean, one time I was in the elevator and Ian Pace comes down and I pressed the button, and the runner, and it was in the middle of Russia where nobody speaks English. Right. And the local promoter chick said, I'm going to get you a taxi in the middle of, not St. Petersburg or Moscow. It was like deep into Russia. We had like a 2 weeks tour in Russia. And then it was a lot of cool stuff that happened at the time. And then I moved from Germany to America, and a lot of doors opened at the time. And, basically realizing that the longevity of staying in that business, how many doors opened over the years, how many people, I'm sitting here right now in LA I would have never thought back in the late 80s that I would ever live in America, right? For instance, and looking for all these. I mean, just the journey itself. And now I have 2 kids, and it was just a lot of cool, positive stuff, right?
Sounds exciting.
That's the best answer yet. The journey. That's the answer right there.
That is the journey, and it's just fucking awesome because I think each one of you from the experience, like, okay, so there's this one commonality here that it's the feeling of fulfilling the show's purpose, like being justified. Like, everybody just fucking did that and was part of that experience. I don't think, if the people out there that are listening are other musicians a lot of times, but like this show's more of like absolutely targeted to an audiences that you guys have helped put together the shows that performed in front of those audiences. So we're going to be targeting those people, and I hope that they get this resonates with them on the fact of the special feeling that you guys that is just, you can't really explain it through words. You could feel it. I get chills when I think about it because it's like a bigger than you thing, and you're part of the thing, a world going on while people are fucking going to work at 8 a.m. You're waking up and the band's still sleeping, and you're fucking setting everything up and dialing it in, and like, it's just fucking really cool, dude. So
you guys get to sleep until 8?
I don't know what the fuck. The headline.
Guitar techs do, definitely.
Yeah, we're chalking the floor at 6:30.
That's also unique because all of these guys are actually putting the show together. Yeah. From my perspective, I'm capturing them and the show. So it's you see the people's faces, you see the bands enjoying themselves, and that's kind of what I was saying with the experience. For me, what's amazing is capturing that. Mm-hmm. For the first tour I ever did was with In Flames, Soulfly, and Slayer. And last year, I shot the last ever photos of Slayer on stage. So that is a big honor circle of an amazing journey as well. So it's been pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, I guess they have a good credit card because they don't need your money.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's more common than ever. And it's kind of an entitlement thing too. It's like, oh, we don't. And I even see bands leave right after they play, and they don't even support the other bands. And it's a lot of that going on in New Jersey. Yeah. There's a lot of it
happening everywhere. I feel like too. It's like we always have the saying, "Don't be a dick on the show." DVD. Yeah. DVD Nation. And do you guys find that there are bands that you guys kind of gravitate towards or friends with, where you'll piggyback shows or trade shows and stuff like that?
Definitely.
At tours?
Yeah. We have bands that we in different cities that we always call first. Like, hey, we're coming through this time frame. Do you guys want to do something together?
Sure.
We love to have certain people that are doing it like we are.
I feel like at this point we establish a whole network through the United States. Mm-hmm. We know there's a bunch of places where we don't even need a merch person anymore, I feel, or a roadie, because we have a whole crew waiting for us, and they're going to be with us for a few days.
Oh, that's
setting up.
Yeah.
Great idea. So like when you come back, it's like you're like, okay, so we have like kind of like a street team, an in-house street team for the show.
Sometimes if we're not doing like a 4-month or a 3-month tour, it makes no sense to have a merch person just for a few dates. So if we have kind of an in-house crew when we get somewhere, it makes it way easier.
That's really cool. I'm learning from this. It's fantastic.
Decades, like quality of all this kind of stuff has been steadily going down.
The saturation, right?
I mean, I had the complaint when we were at Oracle, and I used to tell our buddy Derek Swanson all the time when we were in the machine room, like, get ready, dude. What just happened to me in the music business, where things with that pie that you could eat from, and there was a lot of it, got smaller and smaller. Like, get ready. Like, you're going to have to be more creative.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it essentially mirrors sort of the state of the economy in this country, in that the middle class is more or less disappearing, without getting into politics. Like the middle class.
No, I mean, dude, my day job is a financial advisor. Trust me, I know.
And you're either getting the hundreds of millions of dollars that the major studios are spending, where they're still essentially doing Hollywood production the way they've done it for decades, or you're getting all the people down at the bottom who have to now mix their show in their spare bedroom, and you just have to say to yourself, like, at what point does the consumer say, like, I won't put up with this anymore. Like, because we're already seeing a resurgence in records. I mean,
right.
like in
I mean, there's vinyl plants in Nashville that are running 24 hours a freaking day, and they keep opening buildings to sell them.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to my next question is like, entertainment in general. And I think you're kind of touching on it already. You know, we're seeing movie theaters holding on by a thread. We see the surge of different, whatever the new, streaming platform is this week, whether it's HBO Max or something else. Where do you guys, how do you guys see that affecting you as business people, as client, as workers, in
your career?
Yeah, your career. I mean, how do you see that? Does it scare you? Does it not?
It's, I think from, I hope movie theaters don't disappear. I mean, that's already been a problem. Again, everybody laments over the last 30, 40 years that, basically movie theaters are now essentially AMC, Regal, Edwards, ArcLight here in Los Angeles and some other places. Like the big old classic movie theaters are essentially gone. The Grauman's, the Egyptian, those kinds of places, and then the small, like sort of little, I grew up going to movie theaters in the mall. I mean, it's I'm sure they were terrible, but that's now my nostalgia, my memory of experiencing so many movies was at the mall, the indoor mall theater, or at the Dollar Theater on the corner. And, I mean, like people like Quentin Tarantino are huge sort of advocates of keeping that stuff going. But yeah, I mean, I hope that this isn't sort of the nail in the coffin where, Amazon buys out AMC and then everything now is streaming at the same time that it's in the theater, and people are, I mean,
and to your point about the Amazon thing, I know Lemley, which is a pretty small theater chain here in Los Angeles, and was really known as an independent theater chain for a long time and started showing big blockbuster films over time. I know they have like a streaming service online for new movies that are coming out right now. Mm-hmm. So I mean, how is that the future? It's like it's very, very interesting to me.
Well, I mean, for us, I mean, being that a lot of our stuff is primarily TV focused, I mean, obviously the advent of streaming has created a lot of work for us. I mean, I think like 90% of what we work on is streaming right now.
Wow.
I mean,
that's huge.
To DJ's point about the sort of quote unquote disappearing middle class, I can see something like that with theaters, in that a lot of the days of like, I'm going to pop over on my lunch hour and go to the Dollar Theater and watch something is probably going to be gone, but I want to go watch Avengers Endgame in a gigantic theater and make a huge experience out of it. I'm probably going to pay more money to go to those kind of movies in a theater, but I'll probably be going less to go see, a romantic comedy or drama or something that I can watch on a really nice thing at home, so I can see sort of that gap dividing where, movies become more of an event, like going to a theater. You're going to pay like $30, $35 for a premium movie theater experience, the IMAX, large format, the high seats and all that kind of stuff, which is, I mean, as far as affecting the business goes, I mean, we've actually been lucky in that a couple of the things that we've mixed for Warner Brothers have actually had theatrical release, like just a limited theatrical release, which is fun to see, But I don't think it's necessarily going to impact us too much. We'll kind of sort of wait and see what happens. But yeah, just sort of lamenting the larger scope of the business. It's like, again, like trying to get people at home to appreciate this is what a vinyl album sounds like compared to the MP3 you just downloaded from iTunes. This is what Avengers or whatever, some either big blockbuster or some incredible, whatever the next, picture is going to be.
Great music.
It should be seen and appreciated in a movie theater with an audience. I mean, really, I think that's the most important thing, is with an audience,
Yeah.
Just kind of without going off on a tangent, like for growing up, as Star Wars is one of my favorite films. For years and years.
I saw it in '77 when I was 4 or 5 years old in the theater.
So I don't remember seeing it for the first time. I probably saw it on video. I do remember seeing Empire Strikes Back. I would have been 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But for years and years and years leading up to '97, when they re-released the special editions, Star Wars for me had always been a VHS home video alone in my room, because nobody else understood this weird thing that I was watching, and maybe I could get a friend or two to watch it with me, but it was always this solitary, private, personal experience. And then I watched it for the first time in '97, in a theater with a whole crowd of people, with all the screaming and the cheering and the clapping and and I was like, whoa, everybody, calm down. Like, stop. You're like, this is not how this is supposed to be. And then you realize, like, oh no,
sir.
This is how it's supposed to be. This is much part of the experience, as the movie itself. And so, whether it's a comedy or a drama or, I mean, any of that stuff, it has to be experienced with an audience. And you don't get that same sort of, like hypnotic, dreamlike state at home watching it on TV. And I know, bringing up Spielberg, he's been sort of
I was going to say he's very big proponent of the big theater, because he's like, you can't get the same experience on an iPhone that you get, or an iPad that you get. And
I mean, he's been a vocal proponent of, making sure that if you want to be Oscar eligible, it has to have been released in a theater. And he's kind of fighting against like Netflix and some of the streaming services that are releasing their stuff simultaneously or only on Netflix. And again, so the pandemic, we'll kind of see what happens. Is the Academy going to open up? I think they already did open up rules to say like streaming is going to be
haven't there been a few Netflix films that have won Oscars at this point? I mean, I don't follow the Oscars as much.
I mean, there's
so I mean, it's here.
It's here. Here's what I'm thinking. Do you guys, there's this nostalgia and there's this push to have the old cinematic experience, especially with the sound, that you get when you're in a theater, the experience, all that. However, it's already happening right now, and you guys are on the forefront, right? You're on the forefront of knowing where, okay, you're right where it's at, streaming. So you're already there. Luckily, you don't really have to worry as much as the next person that doesn't know about getting into streaming. But for all our listeners out there and our viewers, they're probably not even at close to that point to even have the opportunity to be where you are. So to speak to let's just say an up and coming composer that wants to, put his stuff out there and get it to the right people. But he only has so much with him. He has his home studio. Those are the guys that we're going to be listening to this. And those are the people that are going to want to see that you guys have a very, very, effective career in what you're doing by doing what you're doing, but they're going to be able to do it from home. So what kind of advice could you give somebody like that that's, really just aspiring to do what you do, without, having to overwhelm them with, they have to do this, that, the other thing to make it so perfect, someday you just got to jump with both feet in, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's that part of it where it's like, you should obviously, follow your heart for lack of a better sort of bit of advice. I think if you do really good work, it will eventually get noticed. I think, it's people recognize good quality creative work at the end of the day. You can put aside all the sort of, my uncle got me a job at Universal, or my, so-and-so, whatever, that only gets you sort of in the door. That gets your foot in the door. After that, if you don't perform, you're not going to be around for a while. And I think, you could say, oh, well, it's like, how do I get noticed? I'm sort of like wallowing in obscurity here. That's, that applies to anybody who does any kind of creative work. And it's probably going to be even tougher now that you can't get that assistant job on a studio lot where you're in a place where you're going to meet people, I don't know. I think it's just a matter of like, for somebody who's going to be like a composer.
It's amazing how the compounded effort has changed, in the sense that people compounding their efforts to get to the next level, the next rung of the job, to the next thing,
Again, just like the middle class, it's like there's a bunch of rungs to the ladder, and then there's like this huge gap.
The disparaging wealth gap. Yep.
And there isn't even a sign. There isn't even like a signpost that says go in this direction or try this direction. It is kind of like a great unknown. And I mean, I don't know how things have changed in the last 20 years, but I don't know if it's just, doing short films or just working for another composer or just getting hooked up with some of those people that just, again, expand your network,
Yeah. And go ahead, Rob. Sorry about that.
The interesting thing is, there's just like any industry, like music or film or whatever, there's especially on bigger projects, there's that desire to, well, we want a known commodity. We want someone who's done this before and whatever. But I think with the fact that, you know, the sort of streaming service has sort of exploded, and everybody's looking for content creators in all different walks of life, whether it be comic book people, board artists, this and that, those people are coming up and they're looking for something new, something interesting, and they're looking at different options. And so I'm noticing, like, for example, on Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts and this other show I worked on called Pink Malinky, where they're going out and they're finding these interesting composers and giving them a shot because they want that sort of, you know, it still has to lend itself to a TV show and
sure,
feel accessible. But at the same time, it's like the instrumentation and some of the compositional techniques that they're using is just interesting. And because we have so much more content now, the studios are more apt to go like, okay, you know, it's very creator driven. In a lot of instances where they're like, okay, well, the showrunner, the creator, he's looking for this. He wants this person. Okay, we're going to go with this composer. And so I think there's an opportunity there for some of the newer composers, you know, to break into it. You know, like DJ said, if they're doing good work and it's creative and it's accessible, there's opportunities there for some people to get in with some of these new showrunners and creators, because it's like we don't just have channels 2, 4, 7, and you know whatever.
Right.
And you know, we're all throwing money into these 5 shows or whatever. I mean, now there's tons of streaming platforms, and you know, so people are taking a little bit more chances on things. Like, the big shows, you know, we got to make sure we're taken care of, you know. But on some of the more, you know, outside the box shows, I mean, it's very interesting to see some of the different sort of musical styles and stuff that we're getting now in an animation show. It's not all just the typical sort of, you know, techno, intense, you know, beats or, you know, big electronic. We're getting a lot of mixture of some different things now.
Marketing, it takes somebody 7 to 14 times to pay attention to something, to actually go and check it out or look into it. So get them to spin it that many times. Does that mean like you have to keep on their ass to make sure they do it? And you know, you're still following up with that guy and be like, hey, what do you think of that song? Can you play it again? Can you play it like 14 more times? So, you know, people.
Yeah, it's, well, see, now radio stations have they have different categories for spins. You know, you have a heavy category, which is, you know, in country, it's getting to be kind of like top 40 now, because top 40 has like this hyper turn and burn. You know what I mean? They'll play it like 100 times.
High attrition rate, yeah.
With country, it's a lot lower and it's a lot slower, but a heavy rotation could be anywhere from 50 to, you know, 80 spins a week. And 80
really that's high. Like low comparatively what it has been in the past.
And with country, you also have a lot of recurrent songs. So with top 40, you basically have what's hot right now, and you don't have recurrent. So you have all new, boom, boom, turn and burn, turn and burn. Country, you have an audience demographic that spans from 12 to friggin' 80 years old. I mean, it's a really cool format like that, where you can have people listen to this radio format who span the ages, you know? So it's neat like that. But anyways, you have like a heavy, a medium, you have a light rotation, you have an overnight category. Overnight categories are generally for getting records started. You know, just kind of getting your foot in the door. You know, they'll get the record on and they'll start spinning it in overnights where nobody really hears it. But you know what? You've got your foot in the door and it's getting played. And that's where you start to work from there. You know, the next category you want to get into is the light rotation, obviously. You start to get maybe some day-parted spins. And what I mean by day-parted is, you know, AM drive, midday, afternoon drive spins. You're not going to do anything unless you get heard. And those are the places where you're going to make the biggest impact. So still, though, getting like 1 spin a day or 2 spins a day in those categories, it's going to take a long time for an artist to be recognized, heard, because not everybody's listening to the radio.
That's my next question, Dave. That's my next question. So with everybody not listening to the radio, well, I'm sure there's a demographic within that span, right, that listens more to the radio because they're older.
People driving to work, people driving home.
Sure. So those stations. What about Sirius XM satellite radio? Do you use?
We work them. We work
stormy weather.
Yep. We work. You know, we work Sirius, we work Pandora, we work Spotify, try to get on their playlists, and we have her on numerous playlists right now. So yeah, we work all of those, Apple, YouTube, iTunes.
Man, she's got a lot of followers on Instagram, like 32K or something like that, which is great. So like she's doing good. She has like over 9,000 subscribers on her YouTube. How long has she been around now?
I mean, this is her first album. She's been around for a long time, though.
I'm sure.
But this is like her first real, big push. The last 4 singles. So, I'd say like 4 years at the most.
Doing really well with her. I saw something that was pretty impressive, which, you may be part of this whole thing, is corporate sponsors. I see.
Yeah, I noticed the KOA Bass Pro Shop, dude. It's like one of my favorite places.
Oh, man, I can't wait to take advantage of that.
I know, right? Dude.
That's
hook a brother up, Johnny Morris.
So how does that, by the way, I used to be in barter. I'm not going to go through barter, but like they have so much overstock and just crap that's worth nothing. It's warehouses filled with crap. So I was trying to get it for credits, to trade them for credits for their advertising. But, regardless of that.
Yeah, man.
How does that work now? Because me and Mikey, we're talking about, we're doing this podcast and having sponsors that are affiliated with what our message is and our mission statement. So for a country artist, for artists out there now that are looking to monetize their art, when you do something like that, it kind of opens up, the light bulb goes off in my head, and it's like, okay, get corporate sponsors. Like, so how does that work? How does that work with her, and how did you go about doing that?
Sure. We actually have a team that deals with that aspect of it, but it all comes together with the story you build. And the story we build begins with radio, with airplay, with marketing, with shows, building a touring base, building up all those things you talked about as far as, Instagram, Facebook, building up a presence in all those areas. Just building a buzz and spinning the story. And, hey, we're at number 58 on the Billboard chart, and we have 30 million in audience right now with a single. And, it's being played on this playlist, in this playlist, in this place is Spotify. And, it's getting streamed this many times, and we can show like, okay, it's getting played in this market, and it's getting Shazam this many times in this market. So we can come up with a matrix and systems of, we got a lot of information that we can pull in, and we present to.
So you guys can actually pull the data from
from
Spotify or SoundCloud or wherever.
Yep.
And allocate dollars to.
So the chart and market research has gotten so much more for some.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know, like when a record, I can see where a record's getting played anytime, any day part. I have this, we have a system. It's called Media Base. And every time a station plays a song, it registers, because every song has a frequency, and it registers with their technology. So, I know when it's getting played, what day parts. We have that, and you have the chart where moving up the chart and what you do with that. And all those other, all the other social media aspects, and obviously, anything else you could pull up and hopefully conjure with sales and streaming and everything else.
And you're firing on all cylinders, right? And while you're firing on all cylinders in real time, you could really see where the attrition rate is better from one platform to the other, and then in real time say, oh, you know what, I see Instagram's blowing up over one other platform. Let's allocate more dollars towards Instagram, because that seems to be, and then incrementally add YouTube, and then you're still doing everything. But the beautiful thing about data nowadays is like it's in real time, so you can really see where everything's going, and you can
man.
Dollars and be like, let's just go this way right now. So you're not wasting any ad dollars. You're justifying that ad dollar in the best way possible, because you could put it here. Over on Instagram more, because YouTube isn't doing as well. We'll go back to YouTube, but let's go on the momentum of Instagram.
Right. Yeah, totally, man. In fact, these things you do with like geo targeting, and we just did a big campaign nationally in the markets where we're getting airplay, where we did time buys, marketing the song of just the hook, and then her talking up her song, but most recently we did it with COVID, and it was more like a PSA, just saying, hey, hey,
wash your hands.
It was wash your damn hands. But it was like down in Virginia Beach, or hey, Eagle listeners, or hey Virginia Beach, our hearts go out to you and your first responders, and da-da-da. And in the background on the bed, we have what you're drinking about. And then at the end, she's like, yo, and by the way, what you drinking about? And so, we'll buy spots in the markets where we already have airplay, just to continue the brand and leave more multiple footprints. Running coinciding with that, we'll run Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram ads. And what we'll do is we'll have just the 15-second video, because you don't want to do too long when people think their attention span is
so low.
And we'll include the station logo and brand. So when we go back to the station, we're like, hey, we're not only, advertising us, but we're advertising you as well. Right. So, you want to you have a relationship with these people, and you want to continue to build on that, and you want to help them out, because when you help them out, they help you out. Everybody at the end of the day wins.
So say to the people that are listening, before you started getting your opportunities to work on stuff, whether it be in sound, in mix and engineering, and then composition, how did you kind of get into that? Like, I know it's obviously through networking, but is there any type of advice you could, if I wanted to get into film scoring, right? And I'm somebody that's new to the game, what would be some advice that you would give me to get into it, besides the making of the composition?
The $1 million question, right?
Come see my course. This is how I got into it.
I think, there are different ways of doing it. I think that time is a big ally. You have to be patient about this. You have to be patient about where you go and kind of do your research. To start, first, I think that you got to see where you are at, how strong you feel about what you were doing. For example, the story about your friend, I'm sure that, his sound, everything was, already there and was a unique sound. I'm just supposing, something different. We love this. Let's put it over here. So, that's like, you believe in what you're doing as an artist, and you keep doing it and doing it, and you develop your sound, and then you go out there. It could be that somebody's going to say, this is great. I never have heard something like this. I want this for my next movie. And then you get into the huge film, Okay, that could happen. At the same time, you can go, I'm just starting out. I'm going to go to film schools. I'm going to meet, young directors that are studying and they are doing their short film, because I want to get my hands into the and just trying out how I feel about the scoring a movie. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So it could go, you don't know where it will be. I remember going back to Berkeley, this great teacher, Eric Riesener, he was a music editing teacher, but he did introduction to film scoring. I remember, that's a course that you take even if you're not going to do film scoring. And he said, well, in this group, there are people who already chose, they want to, that's their major. Sure. Also, there are people that are just, want to hear about what it's all this about, and say, but that day that somebody offered you a movie, say yes, and then figure it out how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
That day that somebody, hey, man, I'm making a movie. I know you're a musician. Can you do the score? Say yes, and then go and figure out how you can do it, because you don't know what could happen when you sit down and write it. Oh man, this is actually great. And then you kind of
and there's so many people in this town alone. Like, you look at someone like John Bryan, who was in Jellyfish, or in other bands, and then they go on to do it. Trevor Rabin's like a greatest example.
Yeah.
He was in Yes and was doing Speed and Speed 2, the ship cruise thing or whatever. He's done so many movies.
Yeah.
You just never know. And it's so true. So true.
I didn't know that, by the way. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, so it sounds like to me like you literally, we have a thing here like that we always go by, success leaves clues kind of thing. Like, you're making music, you're doing it, you want to do one thing, but oh my God, later in life, the time that you put into it, that 10,000 hours may not lead to what you thought it was going to lead to, but now you could shift it over here and start working on something different. But like, still, if you didn't do those 10,000 hours, you would have never been able to do this in the first place.
Correct.
It's like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. One thing that I wanted to add, though, which I don't think everybody thinks about this. It's like, actually, meet and hang out your fellow composer friends or fellow mixing friends or fellow, engineer friends, okay? Because sometimes it's not the producer or the director is going to give you the job. Yeah. Sometimes you can, hey, I don't have time. Can you please mix this for me? Or I don't have time. Can you write these 2 cues for me? It's too much music. So can you do this? So then that way it's a great opportunity to get into some projects or some situations and some relationships that somebody else already built beforehand. Okay. And that always leads to something else. Your first project with this person that you met, that's going to show them that they can trust you and that you can turn in really good work responsibly. And then next time, they're going to call you again and so on, so you can build from there.
Christ. There's nothing that we wouldn't do to make some profit, man. So we grinded and we grinded hard, man. But at the same time, I'm sorry?
That pays off. I mean, here, see, I'm hearing your story in generalities, but it's specific, but like I want to get even more specific in the fact of the metaphysical aspect behind it, which was the mindset of the band when this process was happening and how you guys were mentally with all this, because it's a lot of pressure, man, and you're so passionate about it, and you're doing it for nothing, meaning it doesn't matter what happens, and you're putting your best foot forward and making the best of what you can do and going and having a strategy. By the way, guys out there that are listening, the strategy that he said is something that is applicable to any band out there. It was, a band from out of, nowhere, right? And they fucking went out of their town regionally and hit it up and hit it up and hit it up. And that got them more shows, and that got them in front of more people, and that got them a show. And then a year later, you met a guy at South by South. Then a year later, it takes till you get the fucking guy to come in again and then say, hey, listen, I really want to get you signed. Then bring it to the label and then come back to you and then say, listen, I don't know if it's going to work out if they're not into you. And then say, can I shop this around? And then you fucking say a month later that they fucking call you with a fucking record deal offer. Like, you get Mike Gitter. And here's where it ties in for Razor and Tie. Here's where it ties in for you and I to be like, Mike Gitter was the A&R for my band. With Daggers Drawn back in 2000. This is 2006, 7, 8, and then in 9 we were right there. And you've heard of the band El Nino?
Yes.
Oh
yes, of course.
There's more of a connection.
There's more of a connection there
than I forgot about this. I totally forgot about this.
We recorded with Labs. And then Mike Gitter was friends with El Nino because he signed them over in New Jersey, right? And then they were us, and then he was coming to our shows, and basically, it was like a long while before we even got the offer to have anything possibly get us a deal. So he basically became my friend, and we hung out all the time. He lives in Jersey, like he lived in Jersey for years with his wife, and we became quite close. And I was a little bitch at one point later in life and got mad at him, but I fucking told him that. And as long as we admit it, we're brothers, so it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, he was the one that was going to bring this demo to Monty and the rest of the board. So he tells me to come over his house, and we listened to it, and he was already halfway in the bag. So he's like, all right, I'm going to bring this in tomorrow morning. I get a call at 7:30 in the morning, and he's like, hey, what's up, dude? I'm like, what's up, man? Everything all right?
He's great. Like, exactly like him.
He's like, listen, we're not going to go with your CD because it sounds like shit. I'm like, I feel like I totally agree with you, man. And he's like, it's not the songs. It's just literally like sonically sounds like garbage. Can't show him this. And he's like, I'm going to go mute me in. He's like, I'll talk to you later, dude. Just, it would ruin both our careers if I put this in. I'm like, oh, fuck. So that was that. Then my phone, and then, I get the 40 Below Summer guys in my band, and we move on. And then Mike's not interested at all, by the way, because he wanted to sign them at one point and they said, no way. So he's like, fuck them. So whatever. And then,
man.
And you get this story. This is fucking pretty crazy. But so the mental state of you have a purpose, and that makes you stronger than ever. But people lose sight of that a lot because of the reality, and what they can't see is hard to believe. But that belief in yourself to fucking drive yourself that much forward, and just you took what your label offered you, and you doubled down on it, which is awesome. So that's where we are right now in this conversation. So let's take it right from there, where you're now putting the fucking time in. It, you know, this is what, 2014, 2013 into 2014.
Yeah, this is this was, well, we inked the deal in 2013 October, and we didn't start getting to work till about 2014. We started we landed. We got Larry Mazer as a manager, and Larry Mazer was managing Lamb of God at the time.
Larry Mazer managed 40 Below too, I believe, too, by the way.
Oh shit, really?
Pretty sure, like, or they were very cahoots with them too. So this is like fucking crazy, but keep going.
Wow. Yes. But well, he was managing Lamb of God at the time, so we were like, dude, this is great, incredible. And so he goes, I want to see if Josh Wilbur is interested, because Josh had done maybe his first like 3 or 4 Lamb of God records. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember.
No. He engineered.
He engineered Sacrament.
He definitely engineered drums for Sacrament, and he was working with Machine at the time. He's going to be on our next episode.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we confirmed that today. It's going to be awesome.
Dude.
Mark, you're awesome.
Mark, you're great. But Wilbur worked for Machine, and Josh, I'm sorry, you can lop my head off if I screw this up, because Josh, I've known Josh for a bunch of years. But he worked for Machine. He was also working for Andy Wallace at the time.
Yes, he was.
When he was doing Sacrament, or he was kind of getting his way, because I used to rent Josh Pro Tools like way back in the day.
Wow, incredible, man.
That's how I know Josh. Like, him and I had the same lawyer, Howard Sadowski, and like
Digimobile
recording services.
So let's get back to where you were saying when you're there working with Larry, and you have now what is it like? And you take that opportunity, and you go in studio, and you take the money that you got from your advance, and I'm getting technical because this is what everybody wants to know. And do you put it towards more of the recording, or do you put it aside and more focus on marketing, or do you just blow the whole thing on the fucking, like, you smart? Tell me.
Well, I mean, dude, honestly, it wasn't much, man. The advance wasn't much, and it pretty much paid for. It compensated for everything we did on the first LP. Mm-hmm. What we got to keep was little to nothing. But again, dude, we didn't care. This was our dream from the very, very beginning. And to even get this shot, we were blessed and fortunate, man. So we just fucking grabbed the fucking bulls by the horns. We did it, man. And so yeah, we recorded the first LP sometime in, I think it was like spring of 2014, there with Josh Wilbur. Took about 5 weeks, 6 weeks max. And the record label, Razor and Tie, I think they were, they had priorities. Of course, they had bigger bands, All That Remains. Man, I'm totally brain farting right now. But I'm sorry?
Razor and Tie, Mike,
Oh yeah, Razor and Tie. I mean, I've had friends who've been on that label, so it was like All That Remains, Sons of Texas. Who else
was on that damn?
Dude, we're gonna
Pretty Reckless. Pretty Reckless was another.
Yeah, Pretty Reckless was on there. Sleeper Star was on that label with my buddy Chris Pearson was the lead singer of that band.
Starset was taking off at that time too.
Was Starset really on Razor? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what was going on was that, they were saying, they said, look, man, we got some priorities. We want to release these records first. And, we might have to postpone Sons of Texas debut record, a couple months. Well, a couple of months ended up being a whole fucking year. So 2015.
So you guys were almost like on the verge of getting shelved.
Oh yeah, I mean it could have been, but 2015, March of 2015, we released the first LP, and it just changed everything, man. We started touring, and just everything changed, brother. All we said goodbye to our day jobs.
How'd that feel?
It felt fucking awesome.
So a lot of these metal bands were doing it. They were fully sound replacing at the time with no dynamics and live cymbals. So to combat that, I wanted more natural sounding drums, and he wanted that. So this is crazy what we did. We did drums as overdubs, and then I individually took each one of those hits. I had help also with interns and assistants. Mm-hmm. Each individual drum hit and normalized each it was like super fast sounds, like brrr. They were all individually sliced and normalized, but they were all individual unique hits and with no bleed. So it was an amazing thing to be able to mix, because you can imagine what we had. We had all these different voicing drums because they were unique hits.
Mm-hmm.
They were all even power, and then there was no bleed on them. There was no bleed, so I could compress, distort, I could do anything with them. And that was like at the time, people in metal were like, this is different. How did they do that? It was a really aha type of moment, I think, in the metal scene. At least I've been told.
And I read about doing that, and that's what I meant to say. So I was wrong about what I was saying, but you said you individualized everything. So it's like,
yeah,
that's. Do you stick to that now, or do you? Or was that for that record?
Oh no, that was just for that.
Okay.
I have done other records where I've done drum shells separately from cymbals. I think Suicide Silence, we did it that way. And One Armor for Sleep record. It's just like, I know Atreyu does it. I was told. It's just, sometimes it makes for a really cool record. Mm-hmm. I did it on 18 Visions as well, because we really wanted to sound like Def Leppard, like bigger than life.
And that's a very Mutt Lange thing to do.
Exactly. But the truth is that it doesn't work for all drummers. Not all drummers can,
hack it,
depart that in their brains. Mm-hmm. Of course, Chris Adler could. He could do anything. The guy's amazing.
Great.
So, and it's not necessary stylistically, and it is a lot of extra work.
I'm sure. That's what I was thinking about.
But I've never individually normalized everything outside of Lamb of God. Hell no.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going in like, I mean, I used to chop for a living and cut up stuff. Actually, with someone you worked with, I used to rent him Pro Tools all the time, was Josh Wilbur.
Oh yeah. Well, Josh met Lamb of God from me, because Josh was our guitar engineer.
I know that.
On Sacrament.
Yeah, we know where he comes from.
Yeah, we know where he comes from. But it's like you chop that stuff up, and it's like, I almost feel like sometimes, I don't know if you do, it's like when you work with a band like Lamb of God and then go to a band like Clutch that's such like a rock fluenced band,
totally different,
where it's like total vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much they still record on 2-inch for the most part.
Yeah, the band are playing live together. Yeah. It sounds very organic, and it's about picking the right takes, and absolutely totally different approach. And I do enjoy changing up the way I record. I mean, I've been doing it long enough that it's like, I think probably more younger guys, they have methods more so that they've figured out, and everything's more new to them, so they're being comfortable with what they know. And I think maybe it's just time, and you get a feel for things more so. Maybe like a chef, like sort of just knows what spices are going to work, or how cooking something slow versus long. You just kind of know, like, even when I have a new idea, I don't mess up as much anymore, because I kind of know conceptually what's already going to work and what's not going to work, and I do like different approaches for different bands. I think that's what all bands deserve.
Yeah.
That's great. So, recently, just so everybody knows, you were live streaming with you're actually working on Fire from the Gods' new album?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, I was just the next Machine Shop Live will be Fire from the Gods. They came in before I left for England to do a Press to Miko record. So they came in 6 weeks ago. Normally I would have turned it around a lot faster, but and it's weird. So I was just mentioning them as that will be the next thing to come out. Maybe by the time this podcast airs, that'll have just dropped, or shortly thereafter. I don't know when you're coming out with this, but but that's exciting to get those guys in there. They were friggin' awesome.
They're amazing. When you went to school you were in theater, like for college. You went to college for acting.
Yeah. Well, I was in college, and there was a theater program at the college, and that's where I started. Yeah.
How do you get into casting? And I'm only saying this because me and my girlfriend have a thing where I think I'm great at like putting people together that look like certain people, and I always do that. Like, okay, so Will Ferrell and Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers, they look exactly alike. I mean, I knew that in 2001. I was saying that forever. Then all of a sudden, it was a thing on Conan O'Brien, and they were like doing
the drum off.
the drum off thing. But the thing is, I always do this, like where I see somebody look at somebody, and I'm like, so I feel like I have a really good talent for it, but that wouldn't give me any justification for any company to hire me. How did you get into the casting aspect of it? Like, was a casting agent? Like, how do you get into that?
Yeah, and there's really there's no one way to do it. I mean, like anything, you get in at the bottom and you work for nothing or little amount of money and you work your way up. But for me, and this is something too, this is when you're asking kind of like, how has this turned into me being somewhat successful at what I do, and instead of it just being a job that does nothing, it's being ready for like an opportunity. And I can talk more about that with the famous musicians that I interviewed for one of the projects that I'm doing. They all had the same quality. We went back and I said, what was your bridge? What was that one moment where you think, shit, if that didn't happen, I may be still in the factory working, which a lot of them said that. Some of our English that, they were working in a factory and then they got in this band and made it. And all of them, what they had in common was they have like a punk rock, like no fear attitude when it comes to stuff like that. They may have self-sabotage with drugs or girls or whatever it is that goes along with being a rock star. But when it comes to having an opportunity and going for it and not being afraid of failure or success, they all were just like, fuck yeah. I had the opportunity and I said, hell yeah, But it's true. Yeah. And then, a lot of people that you get that opportunity and you somehow justify it in your mind and you screw it up and it doesn't happen, and I have lots of friends that I watch that happen. And just some that are so talented that it's like, it takes more effort for them not to make it than it would be just to like let go and make it, because of our fears.
Right.
Yeah.
Let ourselves get
Yeah. So, something to chew on there. But so what had happened, my buddy, Jeff Hightower, we called him the commercial prince. He was one of our actor friends that just booked every commercial that you can think of. The Like a Rock commercial when he's driving his dad's truck all over and they cut everywhere. And then he gets back and his dad goes, "Is that a scratch?" And he turns around and wipes the dust off and goes, "Nope." That thing played. He made like 40, 50, 60 grand off of that commercial, like ridiculous. But he did it for years and years. And then when the job started not to book as much, he already knew all the production companies and everybody from being an actor. And so he started his own company called Pitch Casting. And by then I could already edit and I was filmmaking already and that kind of thing. So he needed somebody to film it and edit the actors. Now there's a program that does all of that, but at the time there wasn't. And so he asked me if I would help him out. And 13 years later, I was working for the best casting places in town, and it turned into a really fun job for me that was really creative. And like I said, in retrospect, I look back and I was like, man, I wouldn't be able to do these projects that I'm doing now if I didn't have that job, and I would have never have known during it.
Way to put things in perspective, really. I sit here and do a bunch of shit myself, and I'm like, why am I doing this? And am I wasting my time on certain tasks? And Mike and I talk about it, even doing this podcast. There's a lot that goes into it, even though we're doing a Zoom call, and it's like, we can't spend our time doing things that are going to be, just not going to get us to the next level.
Counterproductive, yeah.
Yeah, you got to put some places, like the production aspect of it, like the editing, and it's good to be able to learn how to do that because. Listen, you can handle that now, and now you can actually do this on the fly and not leave it in somebody else's hands and not get things done the right way. I think that's really important. There's certain tasks that 10,000 hours really, really does add up, and it gives value later on, and you just put that in perspective for us. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. That's the first thing is get the 10, whatever you're doing, get those 10,000 hours in there, and then be ready for that opportunity and don't pussy out. Like when that opportunity comes, why not you? There's a bunch of other people that you watch doing what you want to do. And I know every artist, we're sensitive, and you can have that feeling like, am I kidding myself? Like, why would anyone want to hear my story? Or why would,
Yeah.
It's like, why not you?
Don't pussy out. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a very good one. So it's as good as
coffee mugs.
The way that we're doing it is it's a little less, I don't know, a little more disingenuous, I guess. We're not creating a playlist and then,
promoting it,
filling it up with songs that we're passionate about. You know what I mean? Like, we're literally creating a playlist for the ability to be able to put other independent artists on it and drive streams and, and work them. So that's sort of like the playlist curation world now. If you own a big playlist with a lot of people listening to it, obviously you're going to be able to drive a lot of streams to certain artists. Mm-hmm. It's honestly there is like a formula to it that can't just like reveal the formula, but it really depends on how much money you put into it. So
sure,
advertising, it's advertising across Instagram, across Facebook, and depending on how many dollars we're putting in per day, it really like drives up our likes more. And this one, like our first playlist, this is just our first one, and we're by no means making any money off of it or anything yet. But we've got something like 2,700 likes since like the end of March. So we couldn't go as quickly as we wanted to because of budget constraints and not, we had to shut down our studio and whatnot. Sure. But it's been a really interesting experience, just like understanding that, since we run the label, we want to be able to promote our artists without bringing in a third party. We want to be like a one-stop shop for our artists, I guess.
Yeah, no, totally.
That definitely helps. Sure.
When it comes to our viewers and who's watching, people like myself and yourself that don't really know where to start budget-wise, what do you think is a good number for, campaigns for curating playlists and such?
Well, for curating playlists, you can spend anywhere from $4 to $16 a day, and that's like when you're actually going to see something. Another thing that I have been experimenting with, actually more on the artist side of things, is running ad campaigns like that are directly feeding people to my Instagram or to a Linkfire page with the song on it. And this is something. Say what?
Linkfire?
Linkfire, yeah. So Linkfire, what Linkfire is like, if you were to release a song, and then you have it streaming across all platforms, right? And you want to put a link to it link to that song in your bio on Instagram. You would create a Linkfire, because what that does is you click the Linkfire and then it'll say, play this on Spotify, play this on Apple Music, play this on Deezer.
Like Linktree.
It's exactly like Linktree, yeah. And it'll track, it tracks all the clicks, it tracks who's going to which platform. It's a great way to just build up data.
Dollars are doing the best at, right?
Exactly, yeah. It shows you cities, and then you can translate that data into how you run your ads, Sure. And I've seen such a just my following on Instagram's gone up like 1,000 people in less than 2 months, just by running $4 a day.
What? You know what's amazing? I noticed today, because I was getting in the mood for the podcast, is I was listening to the current songs on Spotify for Robots and Balloons, and I remember when By Myself got released. I remember looking at the first few days about how many thousands of clicks it got, and now I see how it's like getting even more, and we're hovering towards the 100,000 mark on all 3 songs that have been released. It's amazing kind of how your star has risen in that respect.
Thanks,
and it's really been done, and I gotta give credit to Josh as well, because Red Umbrella is your guys' creation as far as a label goes. But the thing is like, do you like the slow and steady wins the race, or would you like to be more scalable where it's just like boom, boom, boom? So my question really is do you would you rather have a slow and steady career where it lasts longer, or would you like to have the rate of attrition where you're gone in 2-3 years? which is probably pretty self-explanatory.
I get what you're saying though. Now there's definitely been times where I'm like, man, could this just happen now? like, geez, all it takes is one. Like, I just need one, I just
need one, bro. One single, bro.
The other thing too is I'm not like super young, I'm not. It's not like I'm here in my early 20s, starting my career in LA, and we know how that goes. And so slow and steady has sort of just been been the way that I've run things in general. But I've definitely, there's definitely been times where I've been like, oh man, like I just wish I could just have one that would just set things off, but at the same time, I will say that because I took meetings with like Geffen and Interscope, and
I remember,
and that was like a big, huge thing, and I was really excited about it. And, we ended up staying independent, but the what you get with the slow and steady side is just like so much more knowledge, and I think it's easier for me to protect myself, because I don't have a business behind me breathing down my neck or whispering things in my ears,
No shareholders.
I don't have a label trying to tell me what my music should sound like. I'm forced to protect myself, which I think is been one of the greatest parts of the slow and steady.
Our podcast is really, Success Leaves Clues kind of thing. What has been, Damien, you can start with it if you want, but what has been kind of your guys' road to success? Like what has benefited you to get to this point, essentially? Like what's been the adversity that's kind of said, hey, this is the band I want to do, and this is where we're going?
Well, it's funny because, they all were basically together before I came into the picture, and it was, I always was into the idea, not to sound cheesy, but like Linkin Park was like one of the bands that made me want to like fucking do music. And once the drummer Russ hit me up and was just like, hey, so like we're doing this side project with me and these other two guys, and they're all from other bands, while like this quarantine thing's fucking everything up. And if you're interested, we need a vocalist. And I was immediately down because, like, obviously, it's something that I've always wanted to do. Because actually, prior to me playing in bands, I did like my own solo rap music. So like I was rapping before I was singing, and it's funny because like we were talking about this while I was out in LA. Like, in this case, like most people, if you told them that in a time where like there's no shows and everything's really kind of like at a standstill in the music world, that you're going to start a brand new project and you're just going to fucking go against the grain, they think you're insane, But it's funny because we've only gotten together as a group twice. And in that time frame, we've worked with a really well-known producer. We have a really big head that just fucking shot our music video. And, there's already all these people that are interested in wanting to get involved, despite the fact that we're doing something that's really against the grain and kind of ballsy in a way, because there's more ways for us to fail than succeed. But at the end of the day, we're fucking showing that it's not impossible. You know what I mean? Just like anything else, just like how the idea of fucking being a rock star is a 1 in a million thing, as far as being successful at it. So it's like the fact that we're already making strides in such an early stage of this fucking project. It's definitely a fucking good sign.
And just to kind of tap on that before you come in, Mike, as well, is that we talked about this in this State of the Union in music we do every week. And a guy named Damian Keys is somebody we really advocate to people, is that getting ahead now, using the leverage you have with your organic reach and each of you having your past successes and being able to come together and hybrid that, is only going to, add to the momentum that you're going to carry over when things kind of get back to traditionally the way they were. There's a whole ecosystem that is going on here that all these components, when implemented, the live streaming, the content building, and just keeping that going, that machine, right? When you get back to that traditional sense of playing shows, because of all that back work that you're doing, and you're not just sitting on your ass, you guys are like making strides, and like people are supporting you because people want something to believe in. And like get behind that, and your past efforts have shown that, and you get great minds like yourself together in one room to cultivate a great project. it's probably going to take off a lot faster than anything you've ever done before because of the lack of everything going on and the fact that you're taking the initiative to make that happen in the first place. So kudos to doing it. Yeah.
Well, what's funny is like where I come from in this situation is I started the band, and now I'm trying to pat myself on the back. It's like, it's part of the story. Like I was in another band at the beginning of the year, and well, everybody was. Like,
you sure were.
Yeah, and it was an active band doing active stuff. We were signed to a record deal. We had things going on. There was a lot of shaking up going on earlier, and actually Mike was at the last show.
I was.
The band broke up like a couple of days.
Who else? I know who we interviewed on the show was Crash Karma. They were at that show too. And and it was also mentioned that it was 9/11 during the interview. That was 9/11's last.
Right. So we played this show, and it was with our friends and Otherwise and friends with Hyro the Hero.
Nice.
And it was at the Viper Room. Yeah, and it was a big show. It was a big kind of like, industry kind of show. Everybody's signed to record deals and has been friends for a long time. And it was like a big old like, boom, let's do this big bash in LA. Kind of get 2020 started off with a bang, which ironically it did. And then nobody saw the opposite bang happening. But as far as I was concerned, a couple days later, my band was dust. And strangely enough, this is going to sound like bullshit, but it's true. I was fine with that. I didn't like the timing of it, and there were some embarrassing aspects of it, like new management, and we're just about to get on a call with all of them with our attorney, who actually is Hyro's attorney and Otherwise attorney as well.
Very cool.
We're about to have this big call and a strategy moving forward because the guy that Red Star worked with producing our music, Sahaj Tikadin, who's in RA, R.A., he had just done music for 9 so it was like all this stuff was happening, and then boom, it was like the singer just abruptly quit. He's done, and I didn't try to talk him into coming back because I was fine with it being over. Just the timing of all of it was kind of silly, you know what I mean? And it was just one of those things where it was fine. It was just time to let go and move on.
But did you stop because of COVID?
He didn't want to do it anymore.
Weeks before.
Okay.
Yeah. This was in January. This is January 10th.
Okay.
Yeah. So he didn't want to do it anymore, which is fine. But I did. So it literally took like a day. Russ, who drums in this band, was also drumming in 9 at the end there.
Right.
He was staying with me and working out in LA. And literally like the next day after it was over, I'm like, I got to do something. We got to do something. I got to start a new band. We got to start a new band. And he was a little bit like, yeah, for sure. Because he was actually in another band as well that he was pretty serious about, but he was kind of teetering a little bit on. There was stuff I didn't know going on in that other band and thought process of him wanting to move on from it. So I just knew that he wanted to play with me and he wanted to do stuff, but I wasn't sure about those other things. And I wasn't really thinking about him anyways. So I'm taking him to work. He was working at this cool bar down there called Bourbon Room. And I planned these demos that I had because I had a whole slew of songs for that I wrote for 9 that weren't right. And I was bummed that they weren't going to get used. Like 30 songs. So I'm playing him these songs and he's like, dude, he goes, these are badass. He goes, we got to do this stuff. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. So pretty much right then and there, it was like the band was formed. From there, it was like that kind of like that crazy uphill battle of going like, all right, well, we're starting a new band. I've just been in this other band for 9 years. And now I got to start a new band in 2020 when everybody's going on tour together. It was going to be the year of touring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, well, this is what I have to do. I wasn't satisfied with what we got accomplished in that other band. It was plenty of stuff to be proud about, but it wasn't the end of the road. And that goes back to your question, like, hey, what are you most proud about with bands that you've been in, whatever? And I'm like, well, I'm proud of everything that we did well, but I'm not satisfied with that. You want more. And it's not you want more like greedy, more like, oh, I got $10,000, now I need 50. I got 50, now I need 250. It's just the drive you have as an artist that you want to keep going, and you haven't said what you need to say, and you haven't said it in the right way. So that's where this band came from. We got it started, and then we just kind of kept moving. And we had, obstacles. There was a bass player who played with us 2 or 3 times, and he quit abruptly. He couldn't do it. And that's how Eric got in the band. I thought Eric. I'd run into Eric a couple times and thought, hey, let's get Eric involved. Text Eric. He was into it. From there, the three of us played as a three-piece, just going over music, playing. And finally, that COVID was full on then. I mean, you weren't even supposed to go anywhere. You weren't supposed to drive to a studio. We kept driving to a studio. We kept stopping in at 7-Eleven and getting drinks and working. And then right as we started looking for a vocalist, probably about maybe 3 weeks and change, maybe a month into the scenario, Damien presented himself. And he went, he had a conversation with Russ. Damien went and we sent Damien music. Damien went and recorded it on his own. He just went on his own and recorded demo shit, sent it back to us. And within 20 seconds, I knew that was the guy to be in the band. It was on.